Hey, good afternoon. It's time for another daily chapter of Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is the book we're going through one chapter at a time each day. And let's remind ourselves why we're actually doing it. So lots of people love to make New Year's resolutions. It's January of 2021 if you're watching this in real time. And lots of people are really bad at keeping those New Year's resolutions. And I'm one of those people who are always bad I'm making New Year's resolutions even though I make them every year. So something this book said early on in the book really resonated with me, and it's the fact that successful people and unsuccessful people have the same goals. It's a matter of their habits that are different. So we do not rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our habits or our processes. And so I decided I'm going to go through this book a chapter a day on video to reinforce to me how to put good habits into practice so that this time next year I can sit back and say, wow, I have made progress. I have stayed on track for the entire year. And if you're watching this in real time or you're watching it after the fact, hopefully you're getting some encouragement and motivation along the way to stay on track. So today we're talking about a chapter whose title I absolutely love. It's chapter 11 if you're following in the book. It's a chapter called Walk Slowly But Never Backward. We get a choice which direction we walk. And he talks about the difference between motion and action, and how motion feels like it might be action, but it's not actually action, and action is really what matters. So what is motion? Motion is the idea of figuring out, it's getting ready to get ready, right? It's trying to figure out what is the best way to lose weight. What is the exact route I'm going to take when I actually decide to start going running or jogging outside in the morning? What is the best nutrition plan? And we do all these things to get ready, but we're not actually doing anything. It's motion. Motion feels like action. Motion tricks us into thinking that we're actually doing something that matters in the long run, but we're not. So what is action? Action is actually taking steps that move us forward. Sometimes motion is useful. Let's not get that wrong. Sometimes it's important to plan. But when we only do motion and we trick ourselves into thinking that we're actually taking action, it's pointless. We don't get anywhere. It will never produce an outcome by itself. Planning which route you're going to go running outside is never going to help you lose weight. Deciding what nutrition plan you're going to follow is never going to help you lose weight. Figuring out what app you're going to download to help you do your budget is not going to help you get in control of your finances. That is just motion. It's useful up until the point that it's not. And that's when you don't take action and follow through. Why is motion so attractive? Because you can't fail. Motion is so attractive because you can't fail. When you're doing research on what app to download, you don't feel like you can fail. You are delaying, you are postponing the feeling of failure by continuing in motion. And if that's not the most powerful thing that this book has said so far, to me especially, I don't know what it is. So I'm going to say it again just so I reinforce it in my mind and maybe in yours too. The reason we like to stay in motion is because we want to delay failure, because we can't fail at planning. We can fail when we take action, and so we delay the feeling of failure by continuing in motion. Motion makes us feel like we're getting things done. Motion makes us feel like we're actually trying to do something when we're not. We don't merely want to be planning, we actually want to be practicing. So take a look around in your life and what are the things that you're trying to accomplish? Are you actually doing them? Are you actually practicing the habits? Or are you just planning to practice the habits? Maybe you've been planning too long, and so this is your wake-up call right here today. Stop planning and start practicing. Stop trying and start training. Stop being in motion and take action. Go get things done. Go start a new habit. Go actually do something that you might fail at. And that's when success comes. So how do we actually change habits? How do we go through the action and not just motion? How do you go through the action of changing habits? So a lot of research is done, scientific research, and we're not going to go all through it. He details it in the book. But it's the idea that repetition is change. Repetition is the agent of change. If we continue repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, that becomes long-term change. So simply putting in the reps, simply doing the same thing over and over and over and over again is one of the most critical steps you can take in encoding a new habit into your brain. So it's the reps that count. Do it, do it, do it, do it. You might fail, but keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, and that's how you encode habits in your brain. He talks about this thing called automaticity. Go ahead and say that word, and if that word is not a fun word to say for you, something's wrong. Automaticity is a very fun word to say. But he talks about automaticity. Automaticity is when it goes from hard effort to do something to when it becomes automatic. It becomes automatic, or it's automaticity. And so here you see it's low automaticity. The habit's not formed. And the more you do it, the more time occurs, the automaticity increases, the automaticness of the habit increases. And then once the automaticity passes the habit line, it's become a habit. And so how do you go up that automaticity line? I'm having a lot of fun with this word, automaticity. It's very simple. It really, really is simple. Put in the reps. Frequency. The number of times you do something matters. And here's an actual graph for those of you who like graphs of automaticity. And so on this graph, I hope you can see it. On this graph, it's the number of days that people go on a 10-minute walk and the automaticity as it becomes a much more automatic habit. And you can see it's the exact same line that he showed on the other page. What does it prove? It's all about repetition. It's not necessarily about time. People love to ask, how long does it take to build a new habit? Well, he points out, that's the wrong question. Don't ask how long, ask how many. How many reps does it take to encode a new habit in my brain and to make the automaticity go past the habit line? There's no set number, but you got to do it over and over and over and over and over again. Think about the habits that we currently have. How many times, hundreds or thousands of times, have we done those habits in order to make them habits in our lives? We must do the same thing to put a new habit into our life. And so what do we need to do? We need to string enough successful attempts together until the habit becomes encoded into our brain and becomes automatic and passes the habit line. That's how we form habits. That's how we formed every single one of our habits that we have in our lives. We just didn't realize that was a process. So you can form new habits. You can follow this automaticity line. You've done it before, you can do it again. So what matters is not time. What matters is frequency and practice and repetition over and over and over and over again. So let's wrap it up and take a few things away that you can apply to your lives to form new habits. It's not about being in motion. It's not about planning and preparing. It's about practicing. It's not about trying. It's about training. It's about actually doing something that you could possibly fail at. Don't postpone failure. Take a stab at failure. You might actually succeed. All right, and then do it over and over and over again until it becomes a habit. And then you can put your good habits into place. I'm pulling for y'all. Have a good afternoon.